Okay, so I'll start again. Hello, thank you everybody for taking time out of your busy day to be here. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope it's a good one and a healthy one for all. And I guess we'll start with the agenda. Hang on a second.
I think you can do all of the approvals together.
Yes.
The January 16th agenda,
Right.
November 14th agenda, October 17th agenda, July 18th minutes, and then
Right.
there are no other minutes because we didn't have any other official meetings.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the January 16th agenda, the agenda for November 14th, October 17th, and the minutes, October 17th and July 18th of last year. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so that piece of business is done. Is Rich on the phone?
No, not
Yeah.
yet.
Should I remind him? Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, Rich wanted to bring something up about the Harriman TOC.
I hate to say this, but if somebody has an agenda item, you would think we wouldn't need to remind them to arrive.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rosalind. Thank you, Rosalind.
Especially if their address is now listed as an official meeting location.
Maybe he's opening the door for someone who just showed up.
Yeah. Mr. X.
Be surprised.
Well, he was under old business.
Yep.
But we actually can't discuss it without him.
So maybe
Wait for Randy.
he's on the phone.
We always say he's from.
I left a voicemail. I'll text him.
It's okay, Randy. That's all you can do.
I know, but if he wants to,
Then he will join us.
okay.
As I like to say to my husband, we're all grown-ups here.
Okay.
I'm sure he has another situation that has captured his attention.
Okay, so I guess we've done that. That's all done. Okay, my chair's report. All right, I have it here someplace. I got so many emails about this meeting. Gotta find out which one it is. Oh yeah, I opened it up already. Okay, so I took a graph off the report to show what a great month of. Who's joined us?
Peter Ramos.
I'm sorry?
Peter Ramos.
From Metro North.
All right, so we have all of the press events. The chairman never loses an opportunity to talk about how great the on-time performance is and how the ridership is going up. So I incorporated some of that in my report. And let's see. And then the governor talked about improvements to Hudson Valley. So the county executive, reminded her that we need to do some more stuff for our side, well, the west side of the Hudson. And of course, the capital plan, which was approved by the board in November, was not approved by the committee in Albany. So we have to see what happens when the new session comes in, and then they have to take it up again. Is that the next thing, Lisa?
Yes, so the governor gave her state of the state on Tuesday of this week, and she'll release her executive budget on Tuesday of next week. And as I believe they say, let the games begin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Legislature and its wisdom.
Hang on one second.
yeah. So that's when the conversations will begin. I think the discussions have already started on a number of different levels. The governor has reiterated her commitment to the capital plan. She did that again in her state of the state. It's important that, I think that the MTA is going to continues to go and speak to elected officials, which my understanding is that's happening, to talk about where the money is going and why it's so important. And Gothamist has been doing a great series of articles on the switches and component parts of some of the stations that are older, I'd say, than all of us in the room combined, but that's not true. Older than Henry, Jack, and Kara combined. How's that? Let's leave that cracked a little so we can just see if Mr. X or any of our other folks come. Randy?
I have a gentleman who he's asking if he can just stay here and I'm explaining what the meeting is. I'll be 1 second back.
Okay, well, why don't I go continue with my my report then. So the
Damn door.
there you go.
Mr. X.
Right, Mr. X, apparently Mr. X's birthday was the other day, as we say, why? Okay, Rich has, well, and now see, here you go, Rich has joined us.
All right.
All
So we
right,
didn't hear from
great.
Francis.
No, but if you want to finish your chair's report?
Yeah.
Nice.
Do we have another guest whose name I should include, or did the gentleman leave?
Want to give us your name so we can include you as having attended the meeting? He's a retired doctor. He doesn't hear very well.
Okay.
I guess he's just looking for a quiet place to read his book. Okay, so we were the last I from here was that it will be addressed in the budget of the governor.
Yes. Right, so that the conversations, the conversations about the capital plan and the budget have begun. That dance has started. It started a day or two before the capital plan would have just been approved, because nobody vetoed it. It was suddenly vetoed, rejected by leadership in the House and by the Assembly and the Senate. And they cited that $33 billion hole in the capital plan, which we all knew was the case. But it's, the MTA has been continuing to go around and talk about the importance of funding the plan. There have been some great articles, if you haven't seen them, in the Gothamist about why it's so important that the plan get funded. Because of the age of the components and the importance of getting new rolling stock and the importance of bringing signals up to speed so trains can come up to speed, and other safety features in addition to the state of good repair, but things like Second Avenue Subway Phase 2. There was a component of that was just that's actually congestion pricing funded, but also the Interborough Express is for the next capital program. So nothing that is in the next capital plan can actually go ahead, because there is no next capital plan until it is approved. There have been conversations, discussion, fights in the past about how funding is going to happen, but this I think took everybody by surprise. So, what we said in our statement was that the simplest thing, which doesn't mean that it's always going to happen, right, is that simplest thing would be if there were a small percentage of the state's annual budget, there was a line item lockbox for the MTA dedicated to the capital plan that would not make the couch cushion, conversation happen every year. This is a really big couch this year, but make the fight for funding happen on an annual basis, similar to how the operating budget crisis has been largely resolved. So there needs to be a more long-term solution to funding the capital program, as there has been for the operating plan. And you might say, well, gee, isn't congestion pricing supposed to do that? Congestion pricing is really dedicated to the funding stream is really dedicated to projects. The chunk of the pie is dedicated to projects that are in the current, in last plan, which is 20 to 24. Although, they, I don't want to say fungible, because that's a word that doesn't really talk to the truth of how the plans work.
Right.
But the money can be spread over time to also pay for projects that are in years going forward. So it is every 4 or 5 years, the new plan needs to find new funding sources. And right now, it just hit a brick wall. So one of the other issues that was cited by the leadership in the Assembly and the Senate was the mystery of what happens in Washington. And that's true, but there has been sort of a consistency of a percentage base of capital funding from the Washington administration over time. The reauthorization legislation isn't slated until 2026, and honestly, the business that is transportation benefits the entire nation. So we'll see. That's a fight that hasn't even started to play out yet in Washington. But in Albany, we expect that there will be a hearing at the end of January, hopefully the days between the committee and the board meetings. And then we expect to testify about the importance of the capital plan. Otherwise, the MTA is going to need to shave projects. And, what goes first? How will that be addressed? And there really isn't, there is an answer to that, because the 20-year needs assessment is what formed the basis of this capital plan. It's very well thought out. It was very well programmed. Theoretically, the lower scoring projects are the ones that get chopped off. But since the basis of the plan is really state of good repair, you start hitting bone sooner than if you're putting bells and whistles on projects.
Has this happened before?
Not that I know of, but Walter or Peter, maybe you know.
I mean, they've always negotiated this plan a year in advance. This is the negotiations were put on hold due to the congestion pricing pause, and that's all related. Can I just ask, this is the next capital plan as requested is roughly a third bigger than the current capital plan, right?
It is, yeah, it's 65 billion as opposed to 55 billion, so it's 10 billion bigger.
It was the current 55? I thought it was under 50. I thought it was a little under 50. It's still a very large increase.
It's the biggest, it would be the biggest plan ever.
And the unfunded piece of it is roughly 2 congestion pricings.
Yeah, it's 33 billion. So I was at the unveiling of the new electric buses in Queens, very, very cold Queens, on Friday. And somebody asked Senator Comrie about what was going to happen with the plan and what he thought. And he said, we've never given anybody $33 billion. And I was like, oh, well, you put it like that. But I think that, Carl Hastie talked about, well, $33 billion, so that bonds out, $1 billion bonds out to 15 billion, so what do they need, like 2 billion, 3 billion? So I'm not, that's interesting when you put it in that context too. And then if you put it in the context of what do you need, 2 billion, 3 billion, then putting it as a percentage of the state budget on a regular basis makes it such a more simple solution, simple and elegant than having to fight this fight on a regular basis.
Okay,
But Peter, maybe you know things that are happening that we don't know.
Not really. So I get my information from the same, traditional media sources you do.
Oh, well, we just walk around the lobby of 2 Broadway sometimes.
all right. So
There was a press conference the governor had, I guess, a week or so ago at one of our stations on the Hudson line. And then she got on a train and took it into Grand Central. And she talked a lot about the importance of public transportation and so on and so forth. And she mentioned improvements that there'll be money for she's going to propose improvements on Metro North with a 90-minute train from New York to Poughkeepsie, which she called the Super Express and all that. And she's talked about some work at Croton Harmon and also at Spuyten Duyvil. There would be 2 tracks. Well, there's already 2 tracks at Spuyten Duyvil. So I don't know what she had in mind there. Do any of you know any details on this, what she's contemplating? I guess not. We'll hear about it as time goes on.
A siding maybe? Was it a siding maybe?
Yeah, I think there was a siding somewhere, Poughkeepsie, an additional track so that Metro North trains can pull off without sitting in the station and blocking up one of the main tracks, sometimes 2 of the main tracks. And that gives Amtrak only 1 single track to use there, and that's a bottleneck. So that might be one of the things, yeah. But there were things at Croton Harmon she talked about, and I don't know what those are. And Spuyten Duyvil was a mystery because unless she's planning on blasting some of the rock there and going around, putting 3 tracks in, going through the cut, but I have no idea,
Unless she meant Riverdale, which has that extra, isn't there extra space at Riverdale? At the Riverdale stop station?
I think so. Does.
Oh, yeah, there's track 6, yeah.
I don't know. TBD, but none of it's gonna happen if the money doesn't come through.
Right.
But the Super Express, I know, is something that is, one of my doctors comes from Poughkeepsie every day, and she said her trips are already faster, even though it's more crowded, and she can't wait for it to be even faster. But she's making her bus in the morning that connects to her train.
Good.
Yeah, where she wasn't before, so that's good. Other things that we are working on are the MTA shared its first week of congestion pricing information, and the numbers are good. The facts and figures are good. The anecdotal information is good. The haters are still hating. Haters gonna hate. But there is some, there has been. We don't have revenue numbers, but there has been good traffic data that's come in from Transcom. So it's a third-party information source. One of the pieces of information that would be helpful, and I think we're trying to see if NIMTIC captures this. I don't know if they do. Is how many people transfer from New Jersey Transit to New York City Transit when they come in. I thought that was part of. They do not. They do not. I don't know that anybody captures that, and it'd be so much easier to capture if there was one fare platform that you could just see. Oh yeah, we're working on that. But right now there isn't that, so it would be having to basically follow people, and that's creepy. So, that still remains to be seen. Kevin Corbett's going away letter talked about the amount of investment they're making in New Jersey Transit. Silent.
I got the letter.
Yeah, but the congestion pricing numbers look good. The MTA is committed to updating their website with open data on a regular basis. That's tremendous. We and the rest of the advocacy community are really going to be paying close attention, because we know that the people who are not supportive are paying very close attention. I was at the Transportation Research Board conference last week, and was on a couple of panels, and I was very glad I went, because there's a lot of misinformation. But some of the information that was being asked for, which I was able to relay, was entry by zip code in Easy Pass, to see how, if people are traveling differently. So hopefully, eventually, in the not too distant future, that will also be shared. But so far, it looks good.
It was in the press clips today about, I kind of glanced at it, Staten Island ridership on the ferry has gone up, but people are not driving into Manhattan.
Yeah, but bus speeds are going up too. So we're gonna have to find something faster than a chicken.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last item I had on the chair's report was that the county executive Rockland sent a letter to the governor asking for her to appoint a particular individual who he had recommended last year. And so we'll see what happens. None of that stuff happens till the end of the session, which will be in June. Do you have the date, the official date yet when they go out?
It's the second week in June, I think. They're not up for election this year, so. And also the Orange County executive was sent a letter asking that he name somebody.
That's the guy at the.
Or Putnam, maybe Putnam, but no, Putnam has a
I think it was Orange.
Orange, because Neil represents Putnam.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so there is definitely a push to fill the quarter pounder seats too, and our representatives also need to be re-upped. Christopher D. Greif has his hand raised.
Yes, I just want to add that the accessory numbers are also increasing also. People going into Manhattan with accessory, because this was brought to us the other day on Monday on our exec meeting, that accessory numbers is definitely went up from 90% up to its overload numbers. There are times now, accessory, instead of making one pickup, it has to make now 3 pickups. So increasement on accessory is definitely getting higher, and it has already been brought to Jano's attention as well as Demetrius to somehow try to get additional more vehicles to run, or get more companies to be hired. Because there is still a minor issue with broker service, that people do not want to use the other private companies, because some companies don't want to go into Manhattan, or they claim they pick them up and then they just disappeared. There's some still minor issues going on there as well.
They pick them up and they disappear. What does that mean?
They say they pick them up, but they don't.
They don't show up.
They ghost them.
They don't show up.
It's like my hand right now, Randy. If I move my hand this way, it disappeared.
Okay.
It means the vehicle never showed up.
Okay.
But so far right now, they are working on the app for those vehicles, but the regular AAR vehicles app is working fine. I'm actually going to be testing it this afternoon, which I'm coming to 2 Broadway this evening, because actor meeting is this evening. So
Thanks, Chris.
no problem.
But we're also seeing increases in ridership on the railroads. Although with the system, there was snow on last Monday, the first Monday. And even as Juliet said in her briefing, in a system the size of the MTAs, with the ridership numbers the size of the MTAs, blips could be the result of anything. So they're going to track trends. We're going to be looking at stations that see increases in ridership also, to measure ongoing increases there. and to see if they need to add additional service, what needs to be done. That it also, Justice Express Bus has gotten more fast. Well, I believe the word is faster and more service, so things are good. We're gonna get an update at the next NYC TRC meeting at the end of the month as well.
All right. So we got the chair's report. Do you have anything more you want to add on your executive director report?
Just the other thing that we are but when I say we, I mean these guys who are really the we, are working on is continuing to promote the Rider First Fare agenda, to improve affordability, really focus on the commuter rails, and to increase fare fares to 200%, bring fare fares to the commuter rails within New York City, to introduce the Rosalind Carter mid-kid fares on the commuter rails, to bring the, as Walter suggested several years ago, or brought really to my attention several years ago, the AM peak senior disabled and Medicare eligible fares, so we'll call that the Walter Zulu fare. We've got the Rosalind Carter mid-kid fare, and then we will have the city ticket weekly, which will just up the Andrew Albert fare. Yes.
Bradley Fair.
The Bradley Fair. So those are the 5 major priorities that we've been focusing on, at the same time that we are continuing to look at the other things that are the other components of our report on fare recommendations. And one of those was the formation of an interagency task force to look at inter and intra-state development or travel information app development and sharing, which surprise is happening anyway for the World Cup. So we're pleased to see that, even though we get no respect. So we'll be sending a letter to the governor next week or this week in advance of her executive budget, asking her to include the 5 priorities in her exec. So, who knows? We just keep, chipping away.
Great. All right, social media people.
But have I missed anything on the things we're working on that our intrepid interns are continuing to work on their projects as well? And we'll have updates for you on that too.
There is one thing on the subject of fares. Over the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas time, a lot of senior citizens traveled, obviously. And I got a few complaints from some seniors. In 3 cases, they were going from Metro North points to Long Island points. And in one case, they were going from somewhere on Long Island to, I don't know, I think it was Peekskill on Metro North. And they wanted to buy the combination tickets. And of course, once they figured out, when in some cases the ticket agent told them it's cheaper for you to pay the senior fare and buy 2 separate tickets than to buy a combination ticket. And that does sound kind of crazy, because we're trying to make it easier for people to travel and buy one ticket that will cover their entire journey. And here we have such a thing, but it doesn't work for senior citizens in some cases, depending what the fare is and how far you're going. So I would like MTA to consider that. I don't know if they have or not, but I've never heard anything about it. But if they could put in a senior fare for the combination, so that the railroad you start out on, you'd pay the half fare, and on the next railroad, it would be $4 instead of $8. And that would, I'm sure, help a lot of seniors and make some people happy.
Hold on, Kara.
So that is definitely something that's been on our radar. We, for the combination ticket, we've been told that they don't add any additional discounts to that one discounted ticket, but we agree that it should apply. You should be able to use your senior disability discount with the combo ticket. We also think there should be a city zone discount for that as well, so that it's more affordable to use for shorter distances. And then hopefully once fare is expanded to the railroads, that would be stacked on there as well.
That's another interesting thing, because I had a couple of people tell me they were going from between Long Island and, well, they were going somewhere on Long Island, and they could have bought a city ticket, but they sold them a regular ticket. And one guy, I asked him, well, we're going to Jamaica, from Brooklyn to Jamaica. And he paid, I think, $7.50 or something for the ticket. And I said, why did you? And he says, oh, I did. And he showed me his ticket. And I said, well, why didn't you buy a city ticket? I said, I didn't know anything about that.
Was it on, did he buy it from the app, from a machine, or from
Actually,
a person?
from a ticket agent, from a person.
That's not right.
Yeah, which is really sad, because those guys surely should know better.
Yeah.
But in any event, that's.
They should write something in about that. That is a concern and a complaint and an issue that we've had for some time about that the cheapest, least expensive. First of all, it's too complicated. There should only be one ticket price. There shouldn't be more than one. Why, if you're in the city, there should be a city ticket. Understanding that there can be seniors, disabled, kid fare, other discounts, but there shouldn't be. Or, if you hit the wrong button, it's either $5 or $7.50 or $13.75 if you get that. That is just not right. And we've certainly said that, and we'll continue to say that, but they should, yeah.
All right, are we up to social media?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, so several riders were frustrated by a power issue that created 30-minute delays on the Harlem line on January 8th. Worth highlighting that new power substations is a big focus of the next capital plan. Obviously, that didn't help on the 8th. Another rider asked whether
Do we know
congestion.
what the issue was?
It was just like a power issue.
Yeah. To Metro North's credit, they did resolve it much more quickly than I expected. It was resolved in about an hour, but it was a significant disruption during rush hour.
Another rider asked whether congestion pricing will result in more trains being added. The railroad replied that ridership was monitored by the planning department and taken into consideration during timetable changes. Finally, another rider asked how often trains are cleaned and complained about some paw prints that were on one of the seats. The railroad replied that they are mopped and wiped daily, and that they also try to clean the trains when they're turning them around if they have time.
You get,
That's all.
Jack, you only get complaints east of Hudson, or you also get west of Hudson?
Mostly it's east of Hudson. I just kind of scroll through what people say online. Mostly east of Hudson.
Okay. All right.
I would think they should also say that dogs shouldn't be on seats.
Sure.
So we talk about the difference between Long Island Railroad and Metro North, right? And so Long Island Railroad, you're not supposed to have dogs except in carriers. And on Metro North, it doesn't matter. You can just bring your dog. And there's no size limit. So, but that's.
Even for hiking?
You can hike on Long Island.
Handy though, I saw a Great Pyrenees dog on there one night.
Yeah, I've seen huge dogs that they should buy a ticket for the seat.
TJ Maxx.
Chris, you had your hand raised, do you still?
I was actually going to say, mentioning that regarding the combo ticket in the city zone, the only time I saw a city combo ticket was 2 years ago when I went from Queens Village to Fordham. And that was
Fordham
the
has its own ticket, I think, right? Isn't that in the Bronx? There's a special.
Remember, I started from Queens, so I'm just letting you know.
The Bronx.
But
May have
since
been switched.
but that was over almost now. It's going to soon come into 2 years. So I agree with what you're saying. It's just that it's really upsetting. If we're in the city and we're going to go from Queens to Manhattan to the Bronx, it should be still the same price, $5 off peak and $7 on peak.
And and that's a recommendation we made in the report too. I think, and when we discussed that with the MTA, they said right now there's like a technological barrier, but hopefully with the new ticket vending machines, that will not be as much of an issue. So I anticipate that next year, that will definitely be a focus.
And just to encourage also, I agree what he's saying about and I apologize, my phone going on. There are some ticket people not following the policy of a reduced fare customer when they're when they're in the station, the main terminal stations like Jamaica. I have seen this also sometimes at Atlantic as well as in Metro North Turf, but it seems like there are still some issues that people got to understand. There are new rules and new policies they need to follow. That's something we need to watch.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jack. I guess next thing is old business.
I believe Rich Cottagio has some old business.
Yeah, I sent the letter from the Orange County exec, I believe was dated 2023.
About the shelter.
Yeah, I mean, it's last time I spoke to Kathy about it was actually when they did the Nanuet station. We were there for the
Oren.
And she said she would put it on either that year or the following year. And now we have, it's 2 years have gone by. I just don't want to lose sight of, that there's a need for it. And I know the capital budget's not approved, but I want to make sure it gets on the list as soon as possible, because the commuter lot, I think, is probably the largest lot on the west of Hudson, and it's growing. The number of cars in the lot is growing. And there are two types of shelter. There's one that's all aluminum, which the heater doesn't work. No one goes in that one. And then there's the other one that's a little more well built from the foundation up, and it's kind of crowded. So I'm looking at the size of the station, the amount of people, and I think, seeing what they did at Nanuet, it would be a nice improvement for West Hudson.
All right. We'll send that to, thank you for following back up with that. I'll send that to Andy, and Peter will copy you on that too.
Okay, thank you.
There's the West of Hudson transit analysis they're doing too, so maybe that could be into that. Remember the governor's press release? She said they're gonna look at it.
Yeah.
And they're connecting everything.
I believe that. Yes, Rich, you haven't updated all on the TOC?
No, they have not come back to the planning board. I don't know why, and we don't normally reach out to them. They come back when I guess the investors are ready, and they haven't approached us yet.
All right. Well, interest rates are about to go back up, so.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so that's
Any other old business?
all right. Anything new?
Quick question. Do we know, with the city has lifted the drought warning, do we know if that, originally the justification for scaling back on subway cleaning was tied to that? Has that been restored to daily? Do we know?
No, I haven't heard that it has been, but I haven't heard that it hasn't. We'll check.
Certainly, my own anecdotal experience suggests that that it has not. It's remarkable that it isn't. I think it was a noticeable change. You've heard a lot of complaints. Cleanliness tied to complaints about safety, and it would be good to reverse that.
I think that was external cleaning, right?
Yeah, they had said that they claimed they were only reducing the hosing down of the outside of train cars. So I don't know that was also applied to the inside, but
Okay, maybe I
it may have
misunderstood.
been used as an excuse to not do the inside.
Yeah.
All right. So
Any other new business?
I guess then let's go around. Francina, do you have anything that you want to talk about? Since you may be come there. Glad to see you.
Oh, have you seen more? Has anybody seen more people on their trains? Is he coming in?
No, I haven't noticed. I'm still on hybrid schedule. Sometimes I drive in, but I'll drive to the Bronx and then take the subway or the Metro North from Williamsbridge. I have noticed that it is less, it looks like there's less traffic just in Midtown. I'm in Midtown, I'm on
Yeah.
51st and Third, so
Okay.
it definitely looks and feels different
Yeah.
in the morning and in the evening
Right.
when I'm here. One of the attorneys in my office, he travels from New Jersey and he actually needed to take an Uber. He's having trouble getting an Uber to come into the city.
Really?
Yeah, not supposed to do that, but
Yeah.
he's right. But he's experiencing trouble getting an Uber into the city, so his wife has had to bring him in.
Huh.
And he's disabled at the moment. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, that's odd. That shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
Because it only went up 150.
Right, it didn't go up that much. I know that Uber cut the pay rate of its drivers, citing congestion pricing, which makes absolutely no sense. Because they're actually they're not losing any money because the way that it works with the drivers not getting dinged, passengers getting dinged. And honestly, I almost took an Uber yesterday or left actually because there's no traffic. And it's not, it wouldn't be sitting in the middle of, with the street going, what am I doing? So,
I don't know, I've noticed the riderships, we all know it's picking up on the trains, and the one I took this morning was surprisingly full. I mean, more full than generally for this train, but again, that's just one day's observation, so ridership is increasing, but I don't think any trains are overcrowded. If they are, the railroad has put extra cars on to handle them.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a pattern. I haven't quite found the pattern yet. It seems like most people, if you're hybrid, it seems like most people have to be in on Wednesdays.
and Wednesday's
But-
also matinee
But
day.
Wednesdays, some Wednesdays I'll see, okay, there's an increase in people traffic. And then other Wednesdays, I'm not seeing it. So
Yeah.
it's weird. I haven't quite found what the pattern is.
Right,
It's
right.
really interesting. It's not consistent.
Mike, what do you see?
Yeah, no, I think that's all correct. I haven't seen a change in ridership in my experiences.
Peter,
But
are you
again,
guys
it's very
seeing
early.
anything?
I think it's too early to really say anything with a level of confidence. Excuse me. I think you all know that January is usually one of the lighter traveled months for both normal commutation, leisure, and discretionary travel. Um, on a personal note, I would say probably, we won't have enough to go on until maybe a full 6 months. Really the bigger months obviously becomes the warmer months, the spring months. So when you get into, April, May, June, which typically, pre-pandemic and even since post-pandemic, May, June have been our highest traffic months, along with, that September, October, November period. So it's really hard to kind of say, hey, how is traffic in January and February when you got, lighter traffic? Next week, you have Martin Luther King on Monday, so you'll have a number of people not working on that day. End of the month, you have Lunar New Year, so that's kind of a midweek. And then obviously February, you have a lot of people who tend to go away during the February break during President's Week. So it's really hard to kind of see exact numbers. I think what you're going to be looking to hear at the committee meetings, I think is obvious, bridges and tunnels. They're going to have exact true data of how many people are, from a vehicle standpoint, going over the bridges, and they'll have that number. They'll be able to share with that. Obviously, the dashboard that they have will be regularly updated, and I'm sure the folks that are heavily invested in the congestion pricing program, will be doing, more pressers like they did last week, and they'll produce, more reports. I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain a weekly frequency. That was a pretty detailed report. But it is very early on, so it's hard to really, judge. But, it's safe to say, I think Walter, you were saying, and I think one of the other gentlemen, Michael, I think was saying, we monitor, like any operations planning team would, our train, we're looking at the loads, we're looking at, obviously, fare box. So this isn't new on us. We're gonna, we would regularly do that, on any initiative that we're offering. So again, the data is too early to be able to make a very specific, decision. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, you have your hand raised, and yeah, the congestion pricing tracker. So that's like really cool that those guys did that.
Yeah, I just shared it in the website in the chat if anybody wants to take a look. That takes a look at traffic in a whole bunch of places, both intra Manhattan as well as on the bridges and tunnels, as well as comparing it to other cities. So, the story so far has been, significant impact at the bridges and tunnels, not so much intra Manhattan. Again, that's just the one source. Two other things just want to mention to the group. So one, there right at the launch of congestion pricing, there was a news article, and I think it was in the Times. There was a Broadway pit musician from Hartsdale who complained about the fact that post-COVID the schedule had changed, and she was forced to drive to work because there was no service from Grand Central to Hartsdale after she was done playing in the pit. I don't think she's accurate about that.
I agree. Right.
But it resonated. I got a lot of people citing her to me.
I think it was on New York One.
Was a New York One. Yeah, she anyway. So that anecdote, specious though may be, resonated with people. The other thing to note, yesterday the Wall Street Journal had an article, and the headline promised complaints from business owners. I mean, that's the piece that I don't think anybody's really gotten any hard reporting on, is there any kind of economic impact on Manhattan? That has not been substantiated in the article in the Journal. The only two business owners they talked to were a garage operator and a taxi driver. It is interesting that the flag drop in a yellow cab now is $7.25, which is a substantial cost. But so we'll see how that plays out. But I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over the businesses for the garage owners.
Michael, and to the group, I think you'll be amused if you didn't see in one. I think it was one of the Gothamist articles, the infamous diner that Governor Hochul went to, where that apparently the owner is now commuting via mass transit and no longer driving. So we may have to put that person on our messaging campaign on a go forward. Just kidding.
I know. Maybe now I'll go back to that diner, where which I actually can't even afford because the grilled cheese sandwich is like $22.
Wow.
But yeah,
It's a place for real salt of the earth kind of
exactly.
minds.
Exactly. The story about the cellist from Hartsdale, I thought to myself, you honestly took your cello on the train. I would like to have seen that. And you tell me you didn't always drive. And if in fact it takes you, she said that the schedule is now it's an hour or something after performance ends. And I thought, well, that's how long it takes my husband to get his car out of the garage after we go to a Broadway show. Yeah. And that would be how long, I mean, I'm home and in bed by the time he gets his car out of the garage. He is foolhardy enough to drive to the theater. I literally.
So he'll drive and you'll take the train.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. No, there's no race. It's not a race. Don't even start me. But it takes so long to get your car out of the garage and then to drive out of Times Square. Well, everybody else is trying to get out too. So it was definitely, an interesting way of doing it. But I think that was the week of negative stories. Everything was just, looking for gloom, doom, and despair. Channel 7 continues to run those. The Post can't wait to do those. And there's fewer of them elsewhere. Businesses, I've heard from some people that smaller businesses, if they have the option, they're changing their truck size where possible and planning fewer trips within the zone or consolidating their trips within the zone, which is what they should be doing. Or like Fresh Direct, they're giving people a 50-cent fee, which is okay. If you can, Fresh Direct is, yeah, I thought they already had that, but
Yeah, they probably did.
they probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to be continued for sure. I see Chris has his hand raised.
One question I do have, are we a new or old business? Because I had to step away.
Just what's your question? What's your business, Chris?
Okay, well, since we're on this part of your question, I was at Times Square yesterday, and I have to say, looking at cars at 7th Avenue, just going past 42nd, I looked and I said, I see more cars, but I still see a lot of people getting off the train. And I'm like I'm looking at myself saying, where are we all empty? It's the only place I do see it empty is 42nd. It's nice to see the M42 flying down 42nd, not getting stuck. But 7th Avenue going towards downtown, it's still congested, which is I look at it saying, well, people are coming into more congestion. They want to pay more the lettuce.
Thank you.
It's also on matinee day on Wednesdays. When I was there over the weekend, there was nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it depends on a lot of things.
I agree with you on the weekend. Yeah, it was. But on Wednesday, I looked and I said, whoa. But on the other business I do have, because this is I just got this a couple of days ago. Well, actually the 13th. Metro North is testing out the same button, the alert button for accessibility at Carl Harmon.
Yeah, it was in the press clips today.
Yeah. But just to let you guys know, I know it's being tested. And we're like very pleased. The MTA accessibility is very pleased. I know we're going to be soon testing it. It's purple, but it's I just hope the train crew will be alert to see it at that station. I hope to see more stations in the future more. Peter, I hope you heard me saying it because this is something that I know I've been advocating for. Late Edith Prentice been asking this for because we did this on the Long Island Railroad. And I want to be full supported on this for the record.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Anything else to new business? All right, so I guess that, all right.
I think next month we are meeting on a Wednesday.
And do you want to give a tease about what you arranged, Brian?
Yeah, we're going to be joined by Brad Blevins, who's the Chief Strategy Officer for Metro North. Lisa and I were fortunate to hear him on a panel at the Infra East Day conference in December, talking about a number of initiatives to improve the safety and security of riders on Metro North and improve just train reliability and so forth. So he's going to prepare a short presentation for us for the next meeting and take Q&A as well. So I thought it was all really interesting initiatives that he's been leading for the railroad. So I think everyone else will get something out of it too. So yeah, he's planning on joining us next month.
All right, so just as a reminder, our next meeting is going to be on a Wednesday, the 19th of February. February 19th. All right, I think that we've covered everything. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right. Woo-hoo. Francina seconded.
Okay,
Everybody's good. Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Worked very well. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, Peter. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Feel better, Jess. Feel better. Bye.